Sweet Living Pros here. We are here to answer some questions that we get asked all the time. We answer the phone. How's the market? That's the first question when people know that we're in real estate. How's the market? How's the market? So we wanted to answer these questions and provide some insight as to how we are viewing the market and navigating in this different time. So, Christy, how do you feel like the market's going?
It is still moving. We are still showing. We are still listing. There are new listings taken every day, under contracts happening every day, and solds every day. The interest rates are amazing. That's the biggest talking point right now is your payment will change based on your interest rate, and it can make a dramatic difference. So that's a big thing right now is how great the interest rates are.
Yeah, they're pretty much at a historical all-time low right now. So buyers have a much deeper strength in what they're able to buy just based on that lower interest rate. I would say the biggest thing that's being affected by that right now is credit and having a strong score. And those are, in our market right now, that's kind of where we've seen the biggest shift is we haven't been able to provide lending or get lending for people who have not as strong as credit, not their credit isn't as strong. So we wanted to talk to you about some ways that you can start working and preparing and possibly still take advantage of these all-time low interest rates.
Next question, is there a housing bubble? We have been asked that question even before the COVID pandemic hit. And we study economists and we're part of forecasts, and all indicators are saying no. The last 4 years, we have been in a seller's market. So what that means is there are more buyers than there are sellers. So that's why you were hearing about there were lines, and it's a highly competitive market. And we have strategies for that. But so we're still in a seller's market right now. But what we've been experiencing even closer to the last 2 years is an inventory shortage. So what that means is there's even less sellers out there right now that are selling. So that's just continuing on through this COVID pandemic. So that's just one thing to be aware of, but we have practices and strategies in place to combat that.
So in 2002, we experienced, a down market because of September 11th, and that was an unpredicted strike on America. And then we had in 2008 the crash of the housing market that was directly related to the housing market. There has been so many measures put into place to protect something like that in the future. Right now, this is a different market. We're dealing with a pandemic. So our economists and the people that we follow are saying that this is something that we're going to recover from a little bit faster than some of the other things that we've experienced. But overall, housing always increases. It always over time will increase. So it's almost more like it's doing one of these, but it always still increases over time. And that's equity. That's our favorite word in the whole world. It's really, really important that actually our industry is really important because it's part of what keeps our economy strong. And right now, consumer confidence needs to stay strong in this industry because it is something that is a building block and something that keeps us away from some of the scarier things like depressions and stuff like that.
And bottom line is this is not a housing recession.
This is a virus. We are feeling like that we're going to recover from this much quicker. And in Utah, even in 2008, we didn't suffer as bad as some of the other markets, and they're kind of saying that will be the same for Utah's market and recovery on this one as well. Our unemployment nationally is a little bit lower than the national average right now, and we have such a huge buyer's pool. And one of the things in the beginning when they were doing that forecast was talking about how building and new construction was going to be such a keystone in Utah's market because we need that inventory, and builders cannot get them on the market fast enough before they're sold. And even right now, we're working with people who want to buy, and the houses are still moving very, very quickly. So we wanted to give some peace of mind as we kind of talk through this, and if you want to talk about this more on a more in-depth personal level, we'd like to show you some of the tools and resources and measures and instruments that we use to make sure that we're safeguarding you as much as possible when you are spending the most money you probably ever spent
we're
in your whole life.
realists. We're going to tell you what our research is showing and what we're hearing. We're not going to give you just fluff, and you can count on that in any environment.
What is equity and what can I do with it? Equity is the most amazing word in the world. It's a fun word in our industry, and what it means, it's the difference of what you owe versus what the value is on your property. That's how we use equity. So let's say for your own personal residence, you bought it in a market where you paid $250 and now today it's worth $350, and you've been paying down on it. Maybe you only owe $100 now. So your equity after fees and whatever is the difference of what you owe versus what it's worth. And oftentimes many people take that money, and there's a lot of things that you can do with it. You can use it to upgrade. You can keep your payments the same oftentimes, or even sometimes less. You take what's owed, you put it as a new down payment, a bigger down payment, and you keep your payments the same and you've upgraded. Or sometimes people pull it out so they can do another investment property, or sometimes they're pulling it out so that they can do improvements, or sometimes they need it for different financial reasons. But it's basically a way to give yourself a loan at a great interest rate a lot of the times. Housing, right now we are at an all-time low with the interest rates, and people have really been able to leverage that interest rate and leverage their equity and upsize or downsize and really come out pretty profitable on that. So we would like to talk with you specifically on how your investment can be used to accomplish some of those things that maybe you might be interested in.
Yeah, so when you hear we can do a CMA for you, that's a comparative market analysis, and that's a way for us to be able to tell what the current market value is of your home, and then we can start the discussion from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a good time to be a buyer and a seller? Yes, it's a great time to be a buyer and a seller. Why is it a great time to be a seller? Because there's way more buyers than there are sellers right now. So if you're priced right and you've done some pretty strategic things to get your house ready to go, chances are you're going to sell your house. Is it a great time to be a buyer? Yes, it's a great time to be a buyer. This is one of the coolest markets that we've been in, because not only is it great for a seller, the inventory is still low, so sellers are able to sell if they're priced right, and buyers, you have a great interest rate. That we are at a historical all-time low, and that's not because of the pandemic. That is because historically we're at an all-time low, and those interest rates are staying low. So you have the ability to leverage your spend and get a little bit more for your money than you could before, and sellers are still able to buy and sell. So why not? Let's do this. How should our clients prepare to be a buyer or seller in this market or within the next 6 to 12 months?
So I'm personally struggling with this a little bit because real estate is such a personal experience, right? We're used to meeting with our clients, and we learn and we listen to what matters to you the most. These are blanket questions. They're common questions that we get, but it's a little bit difficult to be able to give just a standard answer. But in general, these are the things that we would suggest. So when
it's very tailored, very specialized, very strategic. That's why we struggle with this. And we'll give you the basics, but reality is you will have a very detailed plan of action, right?
So in general, what we would say right now, if you are a seller that's looking to get into the market, first things first, we need to pull a CMA so you know what the value of your home is, right? What you can sell your home for. The next thing is it's a great opportunity to declutter and get all of that stuff out of there. You guys, we're all in close quarters anyway, so I'm sure it will be good for all avenues to get that stuff out. Next, we would say do some tiny repairs and some patchwork. You've probably got nail holes, you probably got some dings in the walls, because we live in our homes. That's what we should be doing, right?
Yep.
But it's a great opportunity to fix all of that stuff. When we represent you as a seller, there's some safety precautions that we would recommend and put into place. So first thing, we would ask that if you do have a buyer that's coming through and we let you know you have a showing, we'll ask you to turn on all your lights. We'll ask you to open your pantry doors and your closet doors and those kinds of things, so that way those are less touch contact. We will also supply gloves that we would have, Clorox wipes, booties. We hope that when they come through as buyers with their realtor, they'll have those items, but if not, we're going to supply those for you. As far as if you're a buyer right now, so the biggest thing is getting pre-qualified. And like we said, whether that's something you want to do, you're looking to buy right now or in the future, we still recommend that. And that's one thing that people can't wrap their heads around. They think they only need to talk to a lender when they're about ready to purchase. But that's not true. We have a lot of contacts that can tell you exactly what it is that you need to pay off to improve your credit score and give you a time frame, and you guys can work hand in hand, and we have some referrals for that.
And sometimes it's not paying off. Sometimes people think, oh, I've got to pay everything off in that boost. So that's why it's really good to put them as a resource in your back pocket, because they'll help you navigate the best way to prepare for that. Especially right now, if your credit's struggling a little bit, they can work on helping you prepare that and get some of those things off of your credit that is kind of damaging.
Yeah, so the next thing is we like to meet with you as a buyer in general. So right now, obviously, we're doing that through Zoom or a little bit of social distance, but we've been doing lots of Zoom meetings. Those have been working really great, and there's lots of questions and things that apply to when you're a buyer, and we will walk you through every step of that. So we would just say virtually contact us, and we're happy to give you that more tailored experience. So then next, when you're actively looking in the market, same safety things. We come prepared with, we wear masks. We have families we want to get back to safely as well. So we'll provide you a mask. We have gloves, we have booties, we have all of that. And we are still showing right now. We look like Smurfs, but we're having a great time and we're still looking at houses. So it's a great time to do both. Should I build or should I go?
I say if building's good for you, you should build. This is a great time to build. Again, the market is still seeing that there's supply and demand, right? So the building, they're going up, and you need to kind of be first to the market if you want a specific home style or area. There's some good things about building. Number one, it gives you a little bit of time to prepare to sell your house and whatnot. So you're trying to balance, should I do this simultaneously? Should I buy one and then sell? You know, we have to look at your situation specifically, but that's one thing. The other thing is you get to have a very customized experience. You get to be the first one to make it dirty, that kind of a thing. It is a different process than just buying something that's already existing. So it literally is, if you're going to be building versus buying something in the market, they have two different strategies, and we can kind of help you align what's going to be best for you. Another thing that we need to consider when building is typically your price doesn't change when you have a buyer's agent. A lot of people think, oh, I can negotiate myself and cut out the buyer's agent and it'll be better on my price. And that's not always the case. Most builders have already built into their platform to have you be represented. So if you cut that out, it doesn't necessarily always change your price. But what it does do is it cuts out your representation, and we feel like that's really, really important. When you look at any builder's contract, it will say, and that contract is written specifically in the best interest of the builder. Whereas if you're looking at an existing property, those contracts are actually written in the best interest of the buyer. So we believe it's really important that if you are going to be building, that you should be represented. There is so many things that can happen, and this isn't necessarily just to help you get the best price, which we do help negotiate that as well, but we also make sure that there is several measures throughout that build process that are protecting you as a buyer, and that you're buying smart, and again, you're buying with equity. One of the important things a real estate agent can do in helping you with working with a builder is making sure that you're still buying with that equity piece in mind. Sometimes, and we've seen this happen, you buy way over what the market can bear, and in that 3 to 5 year where you want to maybe sell or do something different or leverage your equity, it's not it's not going to come to fruition. So we just want to make sure that you're buying within your goals, and that very same property could be good for this buyer and not good for you and what your goals are. So that's why it's really important. It's not necessarily to be like, help me get the best deal working with the builder. It's let's look at our total package and our total goals, and let's see if that really fits in with what you are trying to accomplish as a buyer.
Okay, next question. How can Sweet Living Pros help me if I don't want to buy or sell right now? That's okay.
That's us. We want to talk to you not only about being partnered with Sweet Living Pros, but also some of the great things that partnering with our brokerage KellerWilliams can do for you. And one of the reasons why we made the transition, it was really for you, for our clients, and helping bring more resources and more tools to your toolbox. So let's say you're a seller and you're like, I don't know if I want to sell today, tomorrow, or ever, but I want to use my equity. I want to leverage it. I want to make it work for me. I want to do something with it. How can you help me with that? Well, all day long, we will pull a CMA for you, which is very statistically based on where the market's been, and really looks at things the way an appraiser would look at it and the way a lender's going to look at it to see what's going to be best for you. So let's say you want to finish a basement, or let's say you have an investment project that you want to work on. Is getting a refinance best for you, or pulling a home equity line of credit? Those are things that we can start with to help you avoid some of those costs, like an appraisal fee and stuff like that when you get to the bank. So do I have enough equity to be able to pull this out? That's something that we can help you with, and all day long we're happy to do that for you. The next thing is, well, okay, let's say that I want to sell. How much could I afford? Like, what does this equity really translate into? Well, okay, today your house is looking like it's worth X. You owe Y. So we can take that money, and if we took that money and put it into a new property that's $200,000 more than what you're currently worth, your payments may be the exact same. They might be a little bit less. They might be a tiny bit more, but now you're upgrading. Or let's say you want to downgrade. What can you do with that money? And what are some of the laws and things that you need to be aware of when you liquidate your asset? Those are some of the things that we can help guide you through. If you're a buyer, what do you need to be prepared for? We would align you with a lender, or work closely with a lender that you are already working with, to make sure your credit looks the way that it needs to be looking. And sometimes people think, oh, I've got to pay everything off to get my credit up. Sometimes that's not the right answer. We're not the ones that's going to be able to answer that question for you. That's where we work strategically with your lender to say, these are the goals that we're trying to accomplish, and what do they need to do in order to get that credit up and running, and they work with you to help you get that score up. So how can we help you if you're a buyer that maybe you want to buy right now, or maybe you want to buy in the next 6 to 12 months? If you're a buyer and you know your credit is great, we still want to align you with a lender, because what they'll do is they'll look at your income, they'll look at your assets, they'll look at all of those things, and they'll say, okay, based on what we see, you could afford X and your payments would be Y. And then from there you'll say, oh yeah, that's something that I want to enter, or oh, I don't have enough to do what I want to do right now, but I have a plan. Or let's say your credit isn't looking so stellar. They'll work with you, and we'll work with you to try and build up that credit and work towards your goal. So let's say you know the market that you want to be in, but you have a few hurdles or challenges that you need to overcome in your credit. Those are some of the things that we can start working on right now, and we encourage you to do that. We encourage you that if you're going to be in the market in 6 to 12 months, start now. All right, Christy, what are some of the things that our partnership with KellerWilliams has done to help us bring tools and value to our clients as well?
So education and information are two things that are really important, even if you're not looking to buy or sell right now. People speak of real estate usually as a consumer in neighborhoods. So even you want to know what's happening in your neighborhood, or you want to know what's happening in a neighborhood that maybe you're interested in. So whether that's a specific school or whatever that is. So there's a program called Neighborhood Nurture that we can email out, and it's basically, it can be any neighborhood that you want it to be. So it can be the neighborhood you live in, like we said, the neighborhood you're interested in. We can align it with that, and it'll send you monthly, basically an activity report of what's going on in that area. It kind of gives you a feel for what it would cost to live in that area, or an idea of what your neighbors are selling for, because that really does matter what your neighbors sell for, because that's how an appraiser pulls your property values, is by what's specifically going around you. So we have that. The other tool we have is we have an app. So when you're out driving and you're like, oh, I really like this neighborhood, you can pull up our app and it'll populate what's currently active on the market, so you can kind of get a feel for the price points. Again, those aren't to replace us. It's just an additional resource that we have. There's many other tools that we can send and give and align you with, but basically those are some big ones that if you're not looking to do something right now, but you're wanting to collect some information and be educated in the process, those are some great tools to start with.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. We value that we are in a position where we can provide education in and above from just that actual transaction. We really love to answer your questions about what you can do with this money. It's exciting for us. We think it's really, really cool when you have lived in, abused, dirtied up something that you can now get some money out of, and you can do something with it. And all day long, we think that's fun. We like to see people improve their current situation, and sometimes that's in downsizing. It's whatever your goals are, and we're here and excited to help you meet those goals. Hope that we're giving you some peace of mind in the way that our experience and expertise and tools can translate to help you really navigate in any market. 2008, 2002, 2027, 2000, right now. I mean, we never just go into this willy-nilly and say, just go put an offer in today. It's very, very structured. It's very, very tailored. It's very strategic. And the passion, I think the passion alone is that we care about you as if you are our family. We try to help you make decisions that we would make for our own self. We've never been the kind of people that are in it for our best interest. We're not out to burn and turn. We are a referral-based business, so it means a lot to us that you have a good experience today, tomorrow, yesterday, and that you trust us with your family members. And part of that is knowing that you made a good and smart investment.
Well, I think too, we recognize that this is just not a tiny purchase. We recognize that it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So whether it's this unique time during this COVID pandemic or just any market in general, we take very seriously, with fun on the side.
Always have a little fun.
That's
there.
right. The real estate business, and you as our client and our friends,